where we just discuss the plight, the situation of the residents of northern Israel, maybe having a brief break now from the sirens and rocket attacks, but unfortunately, questions being raised how brief that is, and when are they going to get some permanent relief? Well, for more, let's go to one of those residents in the north, Josiah Dekanu, who's been with us before. Josiah, thank you for joining us. Well, our first discussion since the start of the ceasefire, let me get your reaction to that development, that of your feelings and your neighbors in the north. What do you make of this ceasefire? I'm putting that in air quotes.
Right. Well, thank you for having me. I hope you can hear me.
Yes,
but thank you
perfect.
for having me. I got to tell you that the people of the North are very skeptical of the word ceasefire, right? So November 24th, we had hope of dismantling Hezbollah and actually having a true peace, right? And peace is not going to come by us making concessions with a terrorist organization. What does ceasefire mean? Sort of frightens us in the North. Last time it meant going back to a status quo and having 100,000 rockets on our border pointed towards us. Now we've made some real ground, and we have soldiers like a mile behind me or 2 miles behind me, and the word ceasefire sort of frightens us a bit, right? We feel like we had hope for a true peace, and that's going to come by dismantling this terrorist organization. So that's sort of where we are. I mean, it's very nice for it to be quiet here for the first time in over a month, but we are skeptical.
Right. I want to ask you a question about a kind of little debate that was Israel was engaged in prior to the ceasefire, and I think it's still certainly in the back of a lot of our minds, which is about whether the rest of Israel should be holding Independence Day, for example, celebrations or events of municipalities, which were permitted by Home Front Command even prior to this ceasefire. I'm talking about everywhere south of, in central and southern Israel, and right. The question of whether that was appropriate when people in the north are still in this situation. And actually, the government did not restrict those celebrations. They left it up to the municipalities, even while plenty of people were saying, how could you even think about that when residents in the north are unable to have that kind of a large gathering on Independence Day because of the fear of sirens? I mean, how did you feel about that? I mean, how did that leave was that an issue that you thought about or maybe even discussed there up with your residents in the north?
So I can tell you that my wife teaches English at one of the high schools, and she's been doing Zoom meetings for the last month or, since this conflict started. And there would be rumors of going back to school on the same day that we would see rockets are being launched for that school. And so that was, it was quite frightening. Speaking personally, I would rejoice if we want to celebrate Independence Day. I would rejoice if the rest of the country was able to. So we know we've taken the brunt of things. We've taken the brunt. We knew when the discussion started about going to war with Iran, we knew that Hezbollah was going to get involved, and we were willing to take that in hopes for deliberation and freedom for the Iranian people and what that would mean to this whole region. And so we were willing to take that. I think personally, I don't think anybody up here begrudges our brothers from being able to celebrate it if we're not. We're looking forward to celebrating it now ourselves.
Right. And since you mentioned the education system, schools did reopen, but in the Syriat of Kiryat Shmona, the municipality went on a one-day strike to do a march to Jerusalem. The Yoav Kish, the education minister, criticizing that decision. How do you feel about that? Do the residents of the north feel the government? Obviously, there are conditions, elements beyond the control of any Israeli government in order to bring the situation back to normal there. A lot depends on what's going on with Lebanon and Hezbollah. But do the residents feel that their needs are being taken care of, even in their short-term needs, by the government?
Uh, my wife is talking about she actually has to go back to class on Tuesday, and
Okay.
this is the first time. So she's talking about that with hesitation. But the Zoom meeting classroom things have been, we kept people moving forward, but it isn't as good as being face to face. She's eager to get back and see the faces of these people. I have personally have confidence that we still have IDF soldiers over there, which has created a buffer between us. We talked before in the October 7th war, we
Right.
had 8 seconds to get to a bomb shelter. Now, with the progress that the IDF has made, we have 15 seconds to get to a bomb shelter. That may not sound like a lot, but that means your kids can be on the swing if you're out there ready to run, right? So we have confidence that Israel is on extremely high alert. And I think as long as my wife makes the 35-minute drive, they will be very cautious. And I think she'll be happy to see her students face to face.
But is there a kind of breaking point that if the situation doesn't resolve itself into something that will look like more like a permanent, I won't say peace, but at least quiet there, that some residents of the North basically will say enough is enough, and will start thinking about having to relocate? As for example, after October 7th, some residents of the South, I mean the Gaza border area, obviously, also came to that decision.
That's absolutely true. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I was sort of off in it. Because part of that, the rest of that conversation that I had with my wife was now that the Iranian ceasefire looks like it's not going well and that rockets, things might re-escalate in Iran.
For sure.
We know our neighbors to the north. We know Hezbollah. And so my wife was saying, I may go back to school on Tuesday. I doubt, but we don't know she'll be going back on Wednesday or Thursday. Now, to answer what you were saying before, we're in, and this is exactly why we're very up in the north are very hesitant about the word ceasefire and what that means. Status quo is not good enough, and it's not good enough for us as residents of the northern border of Israel. And I think it's a disservice to the people in Lebanon. The one good thing that came out of the ceasefire, if I could say one good thing
Sure.
that came out of
Sure.
the ceasefire, was the peace negotiation discussions that took place last Tuesday.
Mm.
Now we have Lebanon and Israel at least unified in words in saying that the problem here on this border is not Lebanon and it's not Israel. We're dependent on Lebanon being a sovereign country and what that's going to require. And they're saying it too. This is very good progress. They're saying too that it requires the dismantling of a terrorist organization, what I call a foreign occupier from the Iranian regime, and that's Hezbollah. Let us get the job done. We had promises of that before. It needs to happen. We took a great brunt of rockets, 6,000, 7,000 projectiles, whether that's rockets
Mm.
or anti-tank, or not the anti-tank, the hostile aircraft. We took the brunt of it. Let's get the job done. Let's not go back to status quo. Your previous guest said the region has changed. Let's finish it and let Lebanon join in that prosperity. It's not just for us. There are good people north of us. I look forward to the day we have a peaceful border with those folks, and I can ride my motorcycle up to Beirut for some coffee, you know, and so yes, they call it a ceasefire. It's supposed to be for 10 days. What do we have? 8 days left.
Right.
I'm not sure that that's going to last if Iran kicks off again. And so, like my wife said, I'm going to
Right.
school on Tuesday. I don't know if I'll be going on Wednesday or Thursday.
Well, here's hoping she does, and here's hoping she'll have many more years of being able to go to school and all of you to live your lives as normal in North Lebanon, and also, as you said, those good people in Lebanon who also want to have their own independence from Hezbollah and Iran. Josiah Dekanu from the Northern Community of Natua, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.